Hey, you guys, welcome back to Confidence and Coffee. It gets better every week, I feel like, in 2025, that the episodes have been so good. The guests have been so amazing. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, how did I get this connection? And that's what is going on today. This is my friend, my new friend. He doesn't know he's my friend. I don't know if you knew this, but we're friends now. I was talking about you, Kurtis. His name is Kurtis Lee Thomas, but I need to be transparent. I was actually talking about you, which has nothing to do with, well, no, it does. But do people tell you that you look like the guy from Grey's Anatomy?
No, I've never heard that actually. I'd
I
like
need
to
to
see who
say
it is.
you look just like him. Even your eyes. I even noticed that your eyes, and then I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, she has beautiful eyes. What color are your eyes?
I don't know. They literally change colors, so you can see them
Do
better
they
than I can.
change blue, green? Are
They
they hazel?
they do. They do. They can turn, like, my mom is blonde hair, blue eyes, and her eyes just beam. So I got my mother's eyes, and sometimes they'll be like hers, like blue, 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 blue. And then sometimes they'll turn like hazel and green. It's very, very strange.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a gift. Mine turn green, and depending on what I wear, it's like it turns green blue. Just
Yeah,
green.
we're the same.
The same. I can already tell. Anyways, doesn't he look like him? Very handsome. Very handsome is what we're saying. So Kurtis Lee Thomas is not just a guy that looks like a guy off Grey's Anatomy, but he's a #1 international best-selling author, and he does breath work, right? But not only that, biohacking, mindfulness, wellness, and mental health, which we love to talk about all those things here on the podcast. Kurtis Lee Thomas is not only like a #1 best-selling author, but he's one of the most sought after corporate mindfulness trainers. Like, he's worked with people like, Kanye West and Beyonce and Ariana Grande. I mean, I didn't stalk him, but I kind of did. It's my job. And so anyways, he's been featured on the Today Show for making a profound impact with the mind, and correct me, with the mindfulness and well-being of some of the top Fortune 500 companies, such as Nike and NASA. And Kurtis is committed to mental health advocacy. And so I'm excited to talk about you, Kurtis, and your new book, How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety, because freaking men. Amen. You have a foundation. And we looked it up. I looked it up. And it's about the breath work, right? You have another book called Breathwork Detox. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So my first book is The World Is Yours, Secrets Behind the Secret, that came out in 2014, 15. And then I created a second edition, a few years after that. And then my latest book is actually a children's book called The Secret of Life, book 1, Just Breathe. And I wrote that and donated that to my foundation, the Just Breathe Foundation, where they donate that to elementary schools. And then the breathwork book that I have is called How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. And that was more of a COVID book. So yes, and I do want to make a quick correction. Yeah, we work with companies. I work with Nike, I work with NASA, the Capital Group, but the Ariana, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, those were the management company. So Scooter Braun is the guy who manages all those people, and I worked with his organization, and I went in there and I did breath work for all of them. So yeah, but as far as, from spirituality to mindfulness practice, and personal development, that's, my forte and my space.
Yeah, I'm curious for you personally, what got you into this? Like, what is the story behind this?
So when you say this, would you say spirituality? Would you say breath work? Because they're two different kind of.
I say changing lives. I say, I don't want to say breath work, and I almost did that on purpose because I feel like it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Like everything that you do, it truly is all connected, especially if you do it right. And if I'm wrong, please correct me, because I'm here to learn more about you too.
Yeah. So I guess, growing up and then in my young adult years, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And, and also when I was 5 years old, I think kindergarten, my mom's friends used to ask me, Kurtis, what do you want to be when you grow up? most kids say firefighter, policeman. And I was like a psychologist. And they're like, wow, do you even know what a psychologist is? And, I was like, yeah, someone who, helps people's heads and helps them think right and helps them. And they're like, wow, where did you get this from? And I actually have no idea where that even came from. So I guess it was seeded in me from way back then. But when I get older, it was more entrepreneurship. Like I loved creating things. And it wasn't until 2011 where I had a bunch of metaphysical, spiritual, weird stuff start happening to me, that these experiences caused me to kind of look and realize that maybe there's more to life than what I've been told or what I've been shown or what I've been taught. And these awakening moments, they opened my eyes and they got me pretty curious of what else was out there. So I started going down the rabbit hole and researching, and then eventually I was like, I realized I wanted to help people, so I became a certified life coach, and then moved from there and became a certified hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, then more spiritual practices like Reiki, and then eventually breathwork. And I just started collecting these certifications, trying to figure out like what is my path. I know something ignited inside of me where I feel like I need to help people. Like there was no more
Yeah.
gratification for creating a successful business if all it's doing is making money and it's not helping people. So if I could take my drive, and my hunger and my passion and put it towards something that actually helps people, and I thought that was the answer. And when I did that, I felt something that I never felt before, and that was a level of spiritual fulfillment, right? It felt far more rewarding when you could help people. And then that feeling of helping people is like, I can't, there's no other feeling that I want to feel. So this became the path.
It's almost like we were created to help one another. I say that kind of sarcastic. You have passion for people and something I admire and I love here. Like you were, and I don't mean to keep talking about your accomplishments, like, because I know when it's hard to like hear that from like, yeah, I accomplished those things and you should be proud. And I know you're about people, but I do want to respect and express that, you were voted number one employee of well-being provider. I didn't even know that was a thing. And now that I do, and it was inspiring. And then I think it was one session I heard like 98% of people that did your breath work, it helped with them with stress. It improved their focus and clarity and really helped them have like deep relaxation. And you were voted in 2024 the Entrepreneur of the Year by Best Holistic Life magazine. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
and thank you. Yeah, we did a event for Nike and NASA. We did case studies with them, and that year they featured us on the Today Show. So yeah, I'm sure there's a thing for everything. So we provided immediate results, and that's the thing when it comes to companies who want to implement mindfulness or just anyone in general. The first thing they'll do is they'll try a yoga session, or they'll go to the gym, or they'll be like, "Hey, let me try this meditation thing. I heard it helps." Whatever it may be. And the things about yoga and meditation is they're great, but it takes so much time to see results.
Yeah.
Unlike yoga and meditation, the results of breathwork detox are immediate and undeniable from just one session. And I think that's important because we do live in a microwave society, right? Where people want to see results and they want to see them fast. And most of the time, it's unrealistic. Like you're not going to go to the gym, wake up in the morning, and then have six pack abs, right? It takes a long time. So when you're able to do something, it gives you instant, results and instant gratification. It's like, wow, I know that this works. And when you know that something works, then it gets you more curious and you either want to do more of it or you want to find other things that are similar or find a maintenance program. And that's the power of breathwork. I dipped and dabbled into many different modalities. I mean, I'm certified in a bunch, and then there's a whole bunch I'm not certified in, that I tried. And out of all these things that I've tried, there's nothing out there that's more powerful, potent, somatic, and cathartic than this particular breathing technique that I discovered.
And that's so good. So if I could, if and we're gonna keep it on breath work, but I just want to add that you guys know I'm huge Christian. I love Jesus, and I think it's marvelous and amazing that the one that created breath itself, this is the tool that he gave us, not only to live, but to live. And I think that we've mostly redefined living with like, this is life. But like in doing these practices that we've made so cliche or so minimal, like is so powerful. And if we could get back to that, how much more powerful can that be? Even Curtis, did you know, like, I'm a giddy weirdo, I guess, whatever. But do you know that, like, in theology aspect, that God's name is Yahweh? Have you heard? If you say it, I'm sure you know this.
Yeah, but I
Finish
want to
this.
say it. No, no, no. Go ahead. I don't know.
Okay. I feel like you do know because you're smart. But I didn't know this until like a couple of years ago that Yahweh is like if you breathe in and breathe out, it's Yahweh.
Yeah.
It's Yahweh.
Well, it's
It's
interesting
like,
because it's the breath, the breath of God. You heard of that, but it's also the name of God, and Yahweh has no, vowels. And when you try to pronounce it, it's pronounced like you're inhaling and exhaling, and that's why
see, I knew you knew.
everyone speaks God's name, even atheists.
He said what he said. He said what he said. I love it. I love it. You can tell I was very excited to have you here. So tell me about this breath work and like I mean, I want to know, kind of like how it works. Like, I almost want you to show us like what you do, like the behind the scenes of what you do. But I also want to validate that we do live in a society that wants issues like this. And then the book that you wrote, the one particularly you wrote during COVID, anxiety, like I have 4 kids and I've honestly, even in young ages, it's almost sad, have never seen a rise in anxiety and depression like I have now, even in young children. It makes me almost sad that they know what that word is in elementary school. That makes me a little sad.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I think we've learned like, yeah, those things are great, but you're not going to get consistent results and almost like it's not really realistic life changes, but this we can take with us. We just need to learn how to work it. So talk to me. Like how does breath work help us specifically? Like in what areas do you see it the most? And then how do you go about like doing this with people?
yeah. Well, first of all, the breath is a tool. It's the only system in our body that runs on its own, but also we can control ourselves, right? It can put you in a meditative state. It can, prepare you for battle. It can calm you in situations. There's so many things it can do. And it's the most I think the most misunderstood or untaught thing that the human body can do. It's inside the most sophisticated biomechanical machine on the planet, which is the human body. And it's something that we've been equipped with since birth, but we were never given a user's manual to. So once you realize that have you ever played video games before?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in the video games they started creating things called cheat codes, and you can do up down left right A B, and then Mario grows 6 feet, or like does some certain move, or he pulls out like a humongous sword or whatever it is, some more superpowers. Well, human beings created and coded those video games, and the creator created and coded the fabric of human existence, and also created cheat codes that we can input. And instead of pressing up, down, left, right, A, B, if we do very specific breathing patterns within ourselves, you can see monks in the Himalayas on video in sub-degree temperatures with no clothes on, just yoga shorts. And they take these cold sheets and they put the sheets over them, and then they heat up their bodies until the sheets are steaming off of them in sub-zero temperatures. And they do that with the breath. And there's a breathing technique called Tumo. And, the breath, it can do so many different things if you know how to use it. And we just don't know how to use it. So the breath technique that I discovered was I was suffering from a rare stomach condition where doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me. And I was doing every test you could imagine, going to the best GI doctors from New York to LA. And for 5 years, I was suffering. And I started to get desperate. And that's what happens. When you get desperate, you start to do things that you normally wouldn't do. So I started to venture into plant medicine. I went to Iquitos in the jungles of the Amazon rainforest and went to the original Shipibo tribe who brought ayahuasca to the world. And I did that 20 times and nothing could fix me. And until one day I went to this, I was advised to go to this, person to learn this ancient breathing technique in LA. So then I go there and one session of this specific breathing technique completely eradicated my stomach condition in one single session. And I couldn't wrap my head around how that was even possible. Like I'm a Capricorn, I'm very analytical, logical, I need to see
It
this.
has to make sense.
I need to understand the science. It just has to make sense. I could not wrap my head around how this was possible. And then it hit me. I was like, wow, the reason why those doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me is because my issue wasn't physical. It was energetic. It was emotional. Right? And they don't know how to deal with those types of things besides either give you a pill that only suppresses it, right? Or have you go to talk therapy. But the issues with talk therapy is that conversational therapy will only get you so far because a lot of these things live within the body. And
And
that's what
it's
people,
exhausting. You're just talking about it like again and again and again.
and you're rehashing it. And like the thing, with the soul is the soul always wants to be present, right? But the mind always wants to live into the future, but the body holds on to the past. The body is a living library of all of our past experiences. And this is why they say the issues are in the tissues and the body keeps score because it does. And that's what I learned. Like I had emotional and energetic blockages in my body, and only the breath was helping clear those things out. And when I did that one technique, it completely liberated whatever that energy was that I was holding on to. And I just felt free. I felt more buoyant. I could think again. I didn't realize how much brain fog that I had. And I just felt like I was me again and I was back online. And once I discovered that after all the things I did, I was like, I need to bring this to the world. I need to share this with everyone.
Yeah. And by the way, like isn't that how we're programmed in general? Like something that has helped us or made such an impact in our lives, we want to share it with everybody. So talk to me and thank you for sharing your personal story. I really do appreciate that. I know that can be hard to share the personal things, but I love it. Give me all the deep and the trauma and all the hard stuff to talk about because we all have it. So you say that you went and you wanted to share it with the world. I'm curious, how did you go about doing that?
Well,
Because you said go ahead.
I started teaching it. And immediately, like once I've already had that entrepreneur mindset. So whenever something moved me, I always sank my teeth into it. I always went all in. So once I discovered this, I was already, collecting all those other certifications. I had to practice with my mom and, back in Rhode Island. And once I found this, I was like, okay, I immediately went out and started teaching it. Right. So I started, I learned from this person, learned from that person, started teaching classes in LA. And then COVID hit, and then I switched to going to virtual, which I was a little reluctant, but then ended up being far more successful. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually create a business out of this. Before I was just kind of doing the events here and there because I enjoyed it. And then once I seen, people joining from, 27 different countries, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. I
Wow.
can do this wherever I want. And that's when I created, a membership, and then people can log on and they could do unlimited breath work. And before we were just doing events every week. I mean, every other week. And now we do daily morning breath work. I have 7 different teachers every single day of the week. I do deep sessions still bi-weekly. And we just try to serve as many people as possible.
Yeah, and it obviously works. I mean, I heard somebody once say when I was doing my research or I read that it's like doing like 25, like that's a big statement, but like 20 years of therapy in one session.
So first of all, this is a very hard job that I have because one, if you try to convince somebody that this breathing technique can change your life, it's like trying to convince someone like, take a walk in the park and
They
come
have to
out,
be open to it
less going to pay change. Yeah, it's very unassuming. We do it every day. It's impossible for somebody to wrap their heads around what this particular technique can do. I know
all
that
the
for
time.
one of those people. So, and also breathwork is an umbrella term, just like yoga, right? There's many different types of yoga. There's yin yoga, there's kundalini yoga, there's hot yoga, there's power yoga. You take yin yoga and kundalini yoga, those are very different types of yogas that's going to give you different results. Breathwork's no different. There's all different types of breathing techniques, right? Like you were doing in through the nose, out through the mouth, right? Yeah, that'll get you relaxed. That'll help get you into parasympathetic. But it's not going to give you a breakthrough. It's not going to be extremely cathartic. In the
Yeah.
breathwork detox technique, I mean, minimum 50 to 60% of all the people end up crying in the room. And all crying is a huge energetic release. It's a huge emotional release because this particular technique goes into the body and just flushes everything out that we've been holding on to. And that's why people feel lighter and more buoyant after. So talk about stress reduction. There's not another natural modality out there that will help eradicate stress faster and more effectively than deep diaphragmatic breath work, which is the technique that I teach. There's other ones I teach too, but I use those more as maintenance. So like picture you have your car's dirty, right? And a lot of people are trying to clean their car with a toothbrush. That's like trying to fix your life with yoga and meditation, right? It'll help you, but really what you need is a deep clean. And that's what breath
Yeah.
it's the power washer that cleans everything. Then you use the toothbrush, right, to maintain and get the fine areas. And that's what I found to be most effective.
Yeah. And you were so like, what is, I've never heard of that kind of breath work. I'm not familiar with it except what I've learned about you. And so could you kind of like example, if you have time, if not, it's fine, like what that consists of in that kind of breath work?
Yep. So most people, well, I'll say this 99.9% of the time, you should be breathing through your nose. With the breathwork detox technique, you breathe through the mouth, no nose breathing, because you can't achieve what you achieve with breathwork detox with nose breathing. So the mouth is an energetic exodus point. So, and I'll give you the science behind it and, throughout what the body does. If the body was to be here, and let's say you had a really stressful day, you had all these things going on, cortisol level spikes. If your body starts to pent up all this stress and anxiety, what it does naturally to relieve it, it does this. It builds, it builds, it builds, and all of a sudden you'll go, ah, you do a
Right.
sigh of relief
Right.
because when you do the sigh, it's the body's natural way of releasing stress and tension from the body. It builds up, and then the mouth goes, ah. So in breathwork detox, it's a 3-part breath, 2 breaths in, 1 breath out. So the mouth's open wider than what feels comfortable, about that wide. And then you're breathing your first breath deep into your belly, which is deep down into your diaphragm, where, it's the core engine of your vitality. It's where 80% of your immune system lives. It's where 80% of your serotonin's produced. Those are the 3 things that make you healthy, happy, and give you energetic, vitality. So 80% of all that lives in our gut. But yeah, if you tell someone to take a deep breath, they'll take a deep breath and their chest and their clavicles and everything up here moves and the belly doesn't move. And that's the problem, that everyone's doing something called paradoxical breathing. They're breathing backwards. Because if you watch a baby breathe, when a baby takes a breath in, the belly moves, right? But adults, our bellies don't move anymore. And that's because our diaphragm gets so tense and stressed, and we don't breathe back into the core engine of vitality. And when you start to consciously bring life force energy, God energy, and breath into that place in your body, everything comes alive and you begin to release things you're holding on to. Because energetic standpoint, a lot of people hold emotions in their belly and their hips. That's why if you see someone go through a breakup, they start gaining weight. It's around the belly and the hips because on a subconscious level, that's where we hide our vulnerabilities. So we don't want people to see our vulnerabilities. So we'll put more weight around that area. So there's just so much going on in your gut. And then you hear about your gut brain connection, or I have a gut feeling. Or you never hear someone say, I got an elbow feeling, or trust your thyroid,
Come on.
trust your gut, because there's 500 million neurons that are connected from your gut to your brain, and it's a hotline. And for many people, hotline, it's static because they don't have that breath connection into their breath. I mean, into their gut. So we reestablish that, and anything that's been kind of stuck there, we move that out, and that's why people have these huge releases and just let go of all the stuff they've been holding on to. Because what I realized is you actually have no idea all the things you've been holding on to until you release them.
Wow. Wow. And people are so used, it's so sad to me that people are so used to, you know, holding on and taking on, but no one ever teaches others how to release. It's like, yeah, release it, let it go, trust God, have faith. How?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly my point. Yeah. We know how to consume very well, but we don't know how to let go.
Yeah. And I think, and here's the thing is like, for me, with somebody who's walked through that, like, and I'm still walking through that, right? Like, we subconsciously pick things up, or there's so much we've held on to over the years. Even as children, we start taking on those things like that, we're still walking through that. I think we always will, but we can live free now. We can live at peace now. We can do these things now. And it makes me sad to know that we have so many people, so many mentors, leaders, counselors, speakers. Like, you got to let it go. You got to trust God. Stop taking control, right? Breathe, for God's sakes. Have you ever heard that? Like, breathe. Oh my gosh, right? Like, naturally, when my babies like would hold their breath, I would be like, breathe, breathe, right? Or even if they're throwing a fit and they're feeling their emotions, we're like, breathe. But no one is showing anyone how to do that. And people are afraid to ask, well,
Yeah.
how? How do I let go, Kurtis? How do I release all these things, right? How can I do this? What if I'm too busy? Like, I know you have a foundation and I want you to talk about that. You have a nonprofit foundation. And I find it impactful because you got really specific in your mission with this foundation. It's Just Breathe. And the Just Breathe Foundation, it reaches out, like, your focus is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's for young people who are struggling with stress and anxiety. And by equipping not just moms, but single mothers with the proper mindfulness tools and the trainings. Is that correct? Did I say that? Was I right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Let me bring that back. I was a single mom for years, and I can remember. I can remember the weight. I can remember the heaviness of not only feeling in my gut, but feeling it on my shoulders. And I was supposed to not only learn how to let go, but also teach these children by myself how to do that, And so I have so much respect for that. Tell me more about that. Tell me how people can connect in that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, once I discovered this technique and I was like, everybody needs to do this. Right. And then, you always say to yourself, if I knew then what I know now. And if I looked at when I was a kid, if I had those techniques or those practices or those tools, or my mom had, and she had showed me, or they showed me in school, and if it became a part of my life, because, other things became a part of my life. I just didn't have the information. What if I did though? And so that's what I wanted to kind of fill that deficit, is giving kids these proper tools. And that's why I wrote the book, because I was like, well, how can I do that in a way where it's fun, it's engaging, it's entertaining? Because I've had parents read the children's book and they're like,
Yeah,
I learned so many things from that. And
I know.
it was designed from that. It's like, sometimes you watch these Disney movies and you're like, what the heck? I would have never have gotten that back then. Like, this is an adult movie.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. How old are you?
Too.
You do not look 42. I'm 36. Okay, so I'm 36. Okay, so it's so funny. Like, you're a part of the age where we do look back at music and lyrics and like movies, and we're like, why were we allowed to read?
Yeah.
What is happening? Okay.
I
Why
know.
is everyone dying in the Disney movies? We
Yeah.
got we got single moms, we got single dads. What's happening?
Yeah.
What is happening?
It
Like,
was
so it's so
traumatizing.
funny that you said that.
Yeah. It was traumatizing.
Let me lick you up and down.
I know.
Jamming at like what, 13? And I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, what?
I did. Like, I remember my first CD, like the actual physical CD that I got. My cousin, she was like 4 years older than me, and she gave it to me for Christmas and my Christmas birthday. I'm one of those babies because I'm January 3rd. And it was Dr. Dre, The Chronic, with a huge pot leaf on it. And Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style, which I won't even tell you who's going on the cover of that. And that was my jam. And I knew every word, everything. And then I become a hypnotherapist, and I'm like, oh, I'm
Oh,
screwed. All that stuff is in my head. I need to, God fix me. Like, this is why I learned hypnotherapy. He's like, we got this programming out of me, man.
yes,
Like,
yes.
I don't know, man. It was pretty bad, but yeah, I mean, we survived. We're here.
Helping
So,
others. We're giving them prevention. What we're undoing in ourselves.
yeah,
And that's what you're doing with these kids, and you wrote kid books. That is just so beautiful. I just think that's so great that you are reaching the younger generation with this. Like, you really are making change.
I'm trying my best. Yes, thank you.
He's so humble. I can brag on him, but he's very, very humble.
Thank you. You're too kind.
So continue to tell me why single moms. Can I ask that?
Yeah. I was raised by a single mom, and my dad was never around. Even my mom in the beginning years was struggling, and I remember her going to. We had to go to a shelter because she had a abusive boyfriend. I got to live that with her, and it was beautiful because I watched us go from that. Which you, when you're kind of born into the darkness and a lot of crazy things, you learn through osmosis. You kind of pick up things. And I felt like all those quote unquote horrible experiences that I endured, I never looked at myself as the victim. I looked at myself as a learning to be able to understand other people when they're going through dark moments so I can be able to hold the mantle for them, to be able to hold the light for them, and to have more compassion and empathy for what they went through. My mom went back, she was a high school dropout, teenage runaway, drugs, I mean, you name it, and, went into jail. And then when she came out, she made the decision like, okay, I got all my lessons, now what am I going to do? And she focused on raising me, and she went back, got her associate's degree, got her bachelor's degree, became a school teacher, went back, got her master's degree, became a guidance counselor, ran the guidance department. She's on her third book right now. So it
Your
makes it
mom sounds like me. That was my upbringing. Like, I got pregnant at 18 years old and I was groomed, and like, wow, that makes me so emotional. Like, and I wrote my first book with Random House. I just I want to acknowledge that for a second. Like as the mom who's, raising kids and growing up with her children, who was growing up with her children, like wow, that's amazing.
I
Okay,
mean,
go ahead.
when you get first, you get front row seats to that, it does something to you. You heard the Roger Bannister story where they said, it was impossible to run the 4-minute mile. And then, they said you'd die, you'd have a heart attack. And then he did it. And then shortly after, you had like 4 other people that broke it as
Four
well.
other people do it.
So when you see something's possible, when you see somebody kind of come from the bottom in the gutter and, raised to the top and accomplish all these things, as a kid, it makes you believe, wow, anything's possible. Or, and there's a darker side to that too, because, I remember getting into relationships. I became the guy who's like, I can fix you. Yeah, we learned about
Me.
that one real fast, right? And truth that, eventually, a decade or 2 decades or who's counting.
We're the imps. We're like, we just need it. We can love you like no one else.
And the truth is, you can't fix what's broken inside of somebody. They can't fix what's broken inside of you. But what you guys can do is create the safe space for each other to heal. And
Yeah.
that's what we can do.
Yeah. So tell me, if I was in like, how would I want to learn about the breath work, right? Like, I want to do it for myself. How would I go about doing that?
Yeah. So, what I would say is that your first session that you do should always be guided. Reason being, because some people, what I realize, they'll hear a podcast and then they'll go search for the technique, and then, they'll find somebody, and it's not what I was explaining, because that's why I said the breath work's an umbrella term. There's all different types of breath work. Now, if you're a research junkie and you have all the time on your hands, go learn them all, try them all, and see which one works better
Which
for you.
one's better for
Like,
you?
yeah, like that's ultimately the best thing, but people don't have that time. So my strategy is to show them the most powerful cathartic one, right? That makes them a believer. And they're like, wow, I had no idea my breath can do that. What else is there? And now they start getting curious and implementing. So that's kind of what we've been doing with the breathwork detox modality. So if they wanted to learn that particular modality, then they could go to breathworkdetox.com and they can just jump on a virtual session. So we do them every 2 weeks. They can log in from their house. We bring them through instructions of exactly what the technique is. And it takes about 20 minutes to explain, not just the technique, that's simple, but all the things they're going to be feeling and all the things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to prepare the mind for that. And then they go through the experience. So they're breathing for, a short period of time, and then we go into rest. So from beginning to start, it's about 90 minutes, and it's a whole experience. And then the reason why I say they have to try it is because trying to describe what it feels like to do breath work is like trying to describe a kaleidoscope to a blind person. You can't. It is impossible. It's something that cannot be explained. It can only be
And it has
experienced.
to be their experience. It
Yes.
has to be their experience. It has to meet them where they are. That's awesome. So you have like a team of people trained in this
Yeah, so
to
that's
do
where
this.
most of my focus goes. I'm either focused on doing corporate, or my main focus right now between corporate is certifying teachers. So I started certifying teachers a while back, shortly after a few years of guiding breath work. And that became even more rewarding because now I teach them everything that I've learned, not just in breath work, but from all my skill sets, all my certifications, all my experiences. I put it into one personal development retreat training that can be done in a retreat style where we do it over 3 days. And then, or we do it virtually and they can do it on demand. And then they leave breathwork certified where they can take everything I taught them and go create a whole new business or career or plug it into their current, wheelhouse of whatever they're doing. And then now possess the most powerful healing modality that I've come across.
I was a teacher and I worked with a lot of children with behavioral traumas and like comprehension issues, like runaways and children that got in trouble in other schools. And God definitely knew where to put me. And I wasn't by choice, but here I was, right? Because of my stuff. And I saw what he was doing. And I can tell you how unequipped, which I'm sure your mom has already told you, how unequipped teachers are right now, even more so to handle these kind of behavioral issues that are coming up because they are worse than ever. And no one's giving them the tools because we're not hitting and punching. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't want lawsuits and we don't want to hit them, but it's frustrating because now we feel like we're balled up and like we're carrying this tension and we're trying to figure out how to navigate and this child with their own tension and their own emotions. And as teachers, we're passionate about teaching the next generation, about them taking the tools and what they learn, like a real good teacher with them forever. I know that, like, from coming from a broken home of no love, like we moved all the time, the homelessness, all the things that, like, the teachers, I will always remember some of the teachers and the examples and the love that they taught me and the things how they helped me cope. Like, I will never forget my guidance counselor knew I was in a situation I couldn't get out of. And every day she met me and taught me how to cope, what to say, how to behave, and protected me in a way that she'll never know or understand, and I'm going to take that with me. And so the fact that you're teaching these teachers how to do this, I'm sure for themselves, or if they want to go on and teach other teachers, I mean, this is legacy work, Curtis.
Yeah.
Like, you're obviously called to do this.
Yeah. I mean,
So how can I help? How can I help spread this message? How can, like, if somebody wanted to get trained in it, Curtis, like if somebody wanted to be part of your nonprofit and like they read one of your books, right? How do we get the children's books in school? Can you do that? Like, are you able to do that too?
yeah, yeah. So you can go to justbreathe.org and then you can request us to send a book. So you can go on there, choose how many books that you want, and then we'll send the book to the elementary school of your choice. Yeah, if people want to get certified as a teacher, they can just go on there. I offer a free masterclass so they can watch the free masterclass and it answers all of their questions if they because it's going to answer questions that they didn't even know that they had. So they can start there. They can get a free consultation. I mean, we have so many different support tools for people who are ready to implement this or help out in any way.
Like, you're almost like an angel sent from God. I have so much respect for you.
I don't know about that, but yeah, sure. I'll take all the love and the compliments. It does mean a lot, and I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm just trying to find ways that I can do what I can while I'm here. You
Yeah.
know? It's like, you don't know when you're gonna go. I lost my brother in 2011. That was one of the things that woke me up. I started having these spiritual experiences. So you never know when it is your time. So I'm just like, okay, I'm only here for a short amount of time. What can I do to make the largest impact? And that changes, that evolves. Will I be doing the same thing in 5 years? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is my training to do something even bigger that comes. But I just try to listen to the call, listen to my intuition, and be able to follow the breadcrumbs that God leaves me, which I think is important. I like to believe I'm good at that, and just going where I'm supposed to, because I would never guess I'd be doing this, what I'm doing now, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, never. So it's, it's interesting, the path that's for you. Is it destiny? Is it fate? Is it, who knows? I just follow the breadcrumbs.
I think it's passion. I think with what we're passionate about, we find purpose in, right? And I have to tell you, what's so funny is just like another thing we have in common. When you were talking about your brother, can I tell you, I'm really sorry because I know that kind of pain. I lost my sister like right when I was launching this book last year, February. My younger baby sister as well, to an OD.
Sorry to hear that. Horrible.
Yeah, so I just want to tell you, I see you, and the fact that you're still saying yes to people in and everything that you've been through is really inspiring in itself, and it just goes to show that this does work and it has fruit and history and facts behind it. So if I were to come to you, Kurtis, and I was like, I need to breathe and I want to do what Kurtis did, what would I do? Just give me just a little bit, just a little bit.
You mean like the technique?
The technique, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I probably wouldn't have you do the breathwork detox technique, because it's like I said, that's an experience and it's a certain amount of time, and you need to be lying down on your back. Like, you shouldn't do this technique standing up, because it's that powerful. But if you were stressed, or it would depend on like what you were, right? Let's just say you were stressed and you needed to regulate your nervous system, right? I'd start something simple by doing 3 sighs in a row. I believe it's the most underrated breathing technique, is just taking what the body does naturally to relieve stress and tension from it, and then consciously doing it, because it's a system that we can control. And you do that three times in a row. What happens is the first one, right, just releases that anything pent up. The second one goes a deeper layer. The third one, it goes deeper and deeper every one that you go, and that's really the breathwork detox technique. Is you start, the surface level stress, and then all of a sudden the tension, and then unresolved emotions, and then trauma. Like, you literally go through all the levels. So I'd say
Yeah.
3 of those, because you'll instantly feel a reset. And then there's other ones that I think are really good, which is box breathing, right? That's a very simple one that you could research. And then I'd say the 4-7-8 method, which is simple. You'd breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, breathe out for 8 seconds. So these are the ones like Navy SEALs will use as well to
Yeah,
regulate.
I've done the 4, 7. I've done that before and I didn't stick with it. That's another thing is like I always find it almost hard in the midst of tension, right? Or something like that. Like it's almost hard for that to become a natural thought to breathe.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's when you try to do it in the midst of tension, it's like that's when your mind is the most scattered. So when your mind is the least focused. So I would suggest not to do it in those times of stress and tension. I would
oh,
There's a time to do it every single day. Like, let's say, okay, when I wake up first thing in the morning, I'm gonna do this breathing technique for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And that's the thing with implementing a breathing technique. It is the most easiest thing to do out of all the things out there. Yoga, you gotta drive the yoga class, right? Gym, you gotta drive to the gym. Or meditation, these things take an hour. Meditation takes 20 minutes. If you implement the breathing technique, start for 2 minutes a day. Do that
yeah.
for 2 weeks, and then maybe up it to 3 minutes, and then do it 2 times a day where it's only 5 minutes a day. It's like it's very small, but when you learn to just
Make it
be
a habit, like a
and make it a
yeah.
habit, that's when you'll start to see results within 2 weeks.
Yeah, the fact that I think it's so crazy because it's like, well, I had this stomach problem, like not even like a stress thing. Like, well, it was connected to stress, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just found that really intriguing that it really genuinely does heal the body, right? Not just the mind, which is a part of the body, but it is your body's carrying so much. And that breathing life, like releasing and breathing in, is so powerful. And I obviously want to help spread that message. Um, in what you do. I have one more question, then let's find out where we can connect with Kurtis. But tell me about the detox aspect of this. I just kept sticking on the word detox. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the detox of it?
So detox is releasing and letting go, right? Of what no longer serves you. That could be toxic energies, it could be toxins, it could be toxic people, whatever. When you're detoxing, right, you're letting go, you're cleansing yourself. And even Master Yoda was like, you must unlearn before you can learn. You have to empty your cup before you can fill it up. And then I deal with a lot of people in the spiritual community talking about manifesting. And everyone wants something, want a new relationship, a new lover,
Mm-hmm.
new this, a new that, a new car, a better job, whatever it is. They're always trying to manifest things. But what I realize, you first need to let go before you can let in. So think of it as a plane. If a plane is looking to land on the runway, if there is something on that runway blocking it, it's not going to be able to land. And in fact, the air traffic controller is going to tell the plane to do what? Fly in
Turn around,
circles.
fly in circles. Yeah, go around.
Keep flying in circles until whatever's cleared on that runway, is gone. And that's what a lot of people are doing in their life, right? They haven't learned to let go of the things that they've been carrying for so long. And this could be past heartbreak, past failures. It could be grudges from people that did you wrong. Because when you're holding on to grudges, you're holding on to pain. So you need to learn to let go of that stuff, because the only person that's harming is actually you. It's not harming them. You're the,
Right.
harvesting those feelings. So until you learn to let go of these things and create that space for your blessings, right? Your airplane's never going to be able to land. You're never going to be able to go to where you want to go, because those things need to be removed and let go first. And I tell people, let go or get dragged. So it's like, what are you going to choose? So learning the ways to let go, I just, the breathwork detox is the one that is the most profound, because you're using your mind, you're using your body, you're using all of these tools pretty much like habit stacked into one powerful modality. And that allows you to just let go of the things that no longer serve your highest and greatest good.
Amen. Amen. Kurtis is preaching to us today. Kurtis, thank you for coming on Confidence and Coffee. It's a pleasure, truly, to meet you. Okay. Where can we connect with you further? Where can we get connected into the foundation? Tell us, where can we connect with you? Where can we, if we wanted to practice this ourselves or be able to help others, how would we do that?
Yeah. So I think the easiest one would be to go to breathworkdetox.com, because there's like a little program suite there where you can get, free consultations, you can watch the mastermind, you can do virtual events. So just go to breathworkdetox.com. If you're interested in breathwork, you go there. And then if they're interested in connecting with me, they can go to Man from the Stars on Instagram. And then they can connect with me there. And I think and if they want to go to the foundation, they can go to justbreathe.org. So either one of those three, not to make it complicated, but those are those are
Well, where can, if they wanted to purchase, your newest book or a children's book, where could they do that?
on one of those three places.
And guess what? We're going to have them in the show notes.
Okay,
Pinky
perfect.
promise. And so, Kurtis, thanks again for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad we can make this work and make this happen. I believe in your message. I did want to ask one more question. Why Man of the Stars?
Why Man from the Stars? Well, that is probably a whole nother podcast, but I will say that,
Well, we'll schedule the next one.
yeah, I'll just say that at one point during all the things that we talked about, I realized that Earth wasn't my home. It was my mission.
Oh my gosh. Now I want to get into that. It's what I do. That is so good. We're going to have you back on. That's just like I'm serious. Get your people with my people. Okay. Like, I need to hear about that's just like a continuous of a part too.
Yeah, there you go. Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Next time.
So good. Yeah. The conversation went how it needed to go, and whoever needed to hear it's going to hear it. And we're going to have him on here again. It was a pleasure. You guys know what to do. Don't just receive, but give back, right? Like, there's ways to give back to this mission and what he has started and what we can do for others in the next generation. And you guys know I'm going to ask you, repeat it after me. Leave a rating and a review. Yes, leave a rating and a review, because that also helps get this episode to more people. And you know what? We love to celebrate people, don't we, Kurtis? So, tag either one of us on social media if this inspired you in any way, and let us know. So we want to celebrate with you. And thanks for listening to the podcast. I will see and hear you guys, or well, you'll hear me next Tuesday. If you loved that episode of Confidence and Coffee, stop right now. Go leave a rating, a review. Tell me how this podcast episode inspired you. How did this inspire maybe a friend that you know? I would love to hear your testimony. Maybe screenshot, tag me in it on social media, wherever you are, so I can celebrate and share it with you. These ratings, these reviews, your subscriptions to the podcast on YouTube and anywhere you listen is so helpful to get this community growing, to get this message out. It takes you 2 seconds to make such a huge impact, so don't forget to do that. And I will see you next Tuesday on Confidence and Coffee.